topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning. Actually, good afternoon, Dallas-Fort Worth. This is a live show, so I don't want you to think that it's morning time when we know it's afternoon. We have about 10 different shows across the country. They're all in different time zones. So I tend sometimes, I already did a show this morning in Atlanta. So here we are in Dallas, which is Central Time, and I'm still going good morning. So today we're going to be doing something a little different for the first half of the show till about 4:20 your time. We will have a personal injury attorney on our show, probably one of the top personal injury attorneys in Texas. And we will have him on our show, Mark Underwood. We're going to be talking about auto accidents today. And there's so much to know and understand if you've had an accident when it comes to injuries. But the first half of the show is going to be a show about our show, which is Ask the Experts. We have a couple openings now, which we normally do not have. So if you own a business and you would like to become an expert, we're scrolling down below right now our phone number, or I'm going to give it to you on air, which is 954-336-3767. If you have a business and you would like to do a interview to educate, of course, our viewers and listeners, and at the same time, get referrals. So we started this business 10 years ago. And we started off doing with radio stations, extremely successful for our businesses. And so you know the types of businesses we do are usually legal, health, financial, and home improvement. In financial, we do a lot of wealth management, financial advisors, insurance companies that come on our show as an expert. In the area of law, we do a lot of family attorney, personal injury attorney, bankruptcy attorney, estate planning attorneys. And then when we go over, and also tax attorneys too, we have a lot of shows that we do on tax attorneys. And then we move over to medical, which is a huge area for us. So if you own a clinic, if you're a doctor, especially if you're a doctor that specializes in something, you would definitely want to come on our show. It's a great way to position your firm or your practice as the expert. When I first started this business, Yellow Pages were the thing to be on. And not only Yellow Pages, but a full page Yellow Page ad. And now it's gotten to where who has the nicest website ad? You cannot pick a professional by who has the nicest ad. And that's what our show here brings. Our show brings here to you the top lawyers, doctors, financial people in the market. and we bring them right here to this show. We're with you every Wednesday at 4 o'clock Central Standard Time. Dallas-Fort Worth is a huge area for us. Though we modulate out of Florida, I'm actually from Dallas. I went to high school at Hillcrest High School. I went to the University of Texas, Austin. My whole family still lives in Plano. So I've really got roots in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, which means a lot of people that I went to high school with. So as to the show, there are so many ways to market your product, your business. And I know that people get inundated by companies trying to sell you ads, whether it's newspaper, TV, radio. There's so many publications out there, and you go, I have no idea which is going to work best for me. Well, let me tell you why our show has been so successful. We are a very targeted audience, meaning the person who listens to our family law show, divorce show, child support show, is someone who's probably getting ready to go through a divorce. And here we are teaching you things about divorce. So it's a very targeted audience. And hopefully the person who's either watching or listening to the show will contact our expert and hire them. So this is very, very targeted marketing. The other thing I really wanted to do was I wanted to keep the rates down, because there's a lot more moms and pops than there are national companies. So in order to keep the rates down, last year we moved from radio, which we were on 1190 in Dallas on the weekends, to now we are TV, radio, and podcast during the week. Now, the reason why I keep emphasizing weekends and during the week, a lot of people who have a talk show usually have it on the weekends, because, sad to say, weekends has less listeners, which means lower prices. And usually the national companies gobble up all the weekday shows. So now we're able to have a show during the week at an incredible rate. People are shocked when they go, well, how much does it cost to have a show on Ask the Experts? And they are shocked how low the rates are. And again, this is because of what we've done to keep the rates down. And then people are also a little nervous about doing a TV or radio show for the first time. I hear things like, oh, I don't have a voice for radio or TV. And your voice has nothing to do with it anymore. Your people care about what comes out of your mouth and not the way it sounds. So you don't have to be a professional. You don't have to have this great voice. And the way we do it here is I basically hold your hand through it, because I know it's tough. It's scary coming on for the first time. After you've done one or two shows, it's easy. In fact, a lot of people will say, wow, it goes by so fast. Our shows are 25-minute long shows, and then we go to the next show. And it's a long time. But like I said, we walk you through this. So if you have a business, whether it's new, especially, gosh, if it's new business, that means you do not have a big, what I would call marketing package where you have a lot of dollars. Usually new businesses don't have a lot of dollars to spend on marketing. So you have what's called a budget, and our show fits in any kind of budget. Can you imagine you get TV, you get radio, and you get a podcast with our show? We also have a deal set up with iHeart where you would get a copy of your show, whether you get it from YouTube or iHeart. And we're with almost all the large servers too. Your show is really going to get out there. And again, legal, health, financial, and home improvement. I didn't really mention home improvement, but home improvement's a huge area for us. We have, in a lot of our markets, we have an air conditioning company. They do repairs. We have roof repairs. We have plumbers. We even have what's called a public adjuster. And a lot of you do not know what a public adjuster is, but a lot of times you get an estimate from your insurance company if you've had damages to your home, and you don't feel like it was a proper estimate. And you can fight all day long, but you're probably going to lose because the insurance companies have people who are really good. They're good negotiators. Their job is to give you the least amount possible. Well, when you hire a public insurance adjuster, they go in and they know what they're doing. They're not, these adjusters aren't going to put anything past them. They know what your claim is really worth. So they go in there and fight for your money. And I'm going to tell you something. I have seen them where the insurance company offered $25,000 for a roof, and the insurance adjuster ended up getting him $96,000. Unless you have a show like this, like Ask the Experts, many people don't know there's a such thing as a public insurance adjuster. So we do a lot of health, of home improvement, and it could be painting, it could be lawn care. And those people will come on our show and we will interview them for 25 minutes. And when you're on for 25 minutes and you have an audience, which you do with us, boy, you can really sell yourself without selling yourself, if you understand what I'm saying. Because they get to know your personality. They get to know how you do business. There's a trust factor that builds up. And just about with any business, that trust factor is so, so important. So I'm hoping that you like the show enough. You have a business, and it really doesn't matter what kind of business you have. A show like Ask the Experts can help any type business. I think one of the reasons why we capture a large audience is our shows do not sound like an info commercial. Our show sounds like, hey, this person is educating me. The show doesn't cost me anything. I am learning so much about a particular, say, a problem that you're having. And you get to hear 25 minutes once a month on these people. Our show's on every week, but we have different experts on. So whether you're a doctor, we do really well with weight loss. We do well with cosmetic surgery, back pain, any type pain. Our show does really well for our experts. There's a lot of hearing aids, hearing loss. There's so many topics that we do on health. This morning in Atlanta, we did a show on hormones, and the show was also done on how to lose weight through hormones. So there's a variety of topics that we can do. Our next show coming on right after this on Ask the Experts is our personal injury law attorney. And he has actually been with us for several years, does an incredible job. You will love him. There's so many things that people don't know after an accident, what to do. And there's a lot of people who lose out on a lot of money because they didn't know what to do. And then you have injuries that all of a sudden catch up with you 3 or 4 weeks later, and you find out it was too late now. So we're going to talk about that today. We talk about slips and falls, wrongful death. There's a lot of areas in personal injury, motorcycle accidents, boating accidents, work-related injuries. So we have put together a string of live shows every Wednesday here at www.w4cy.com. www.w4cy.com. You go right to the website and you can either listen to it on radio or you can listen or you can watch us on TV. I kind of prefer TV and want to be able to see the person that I might be hiring. And again, our phone number to call if you'd like to become an expert, 954-336-3767. And I don't like giving prices out, but I'll tell you this, you can get 3 25-minute shows for under $1,000. I'm not talking about $999. I'm talking about under $1,000. You can get 3 shows. And then if you want to even get a better rate, you buy 6 shows, which is even a better rate. But a lot of people said, oh, I thought this would be thousands and thousands. No, it's not. Now, I'm going to say something. It's going to probably ruffle the feathers of some people. Do you know that streaming TV and podcast are moving ahead of talk radio? I'm going to tell you something. I would not have made this huge move to move over our radio shows into podcasting, TV, and radio if I thought it didn't work. I mean, I just read an article the other day that these electric cars that are going to be coming out are not even going to have AM radio in them. Something that screws up with the battery. I didn't quite understand it. But if they take AM radio, I'm telling you, out of these cars, that's going to take away a lot of talk radio because there's a lot of talk radio with AM radio. So this is just a little... we'd love to hear from you. 954-336-3767. And like I was saying, our next guest is probably one of the finest personal injury attorneys. It's funny, I say in Texas, but he's also does business in Virginia also. So we're going to be bringing him on. I'm not even going to go to break today. I'm just going to bring Attorney Mark Underwood on. And if you have a question, you can we have a chat board here on the right-hand side of the page. If you're watching us on TV, that you can ask your questions about, or you can text me right now during the show at 954-336-3767. And we will take your questions. Today, we're actually talking about motorcycle accident questions. And boy, that is true to my heart. Let's go to our expert. Good afternoon, Mark Underwood.
Steve, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. It's a lot of fun to be with you, to be back with you. I look forward to it every time. And
I love it. I got to tell you, Mark, today's show, you told me you wanted to talk about motorcycle accidents. And I had a motorcycle for a very long time. And the reason why I stopped riding is, and people who ride motorcycles will understand this. I made a turn, and I'm talking about, Mark, I'm talking about a slow turn into a gravel. There was a lot of gravel on the sidewalk. When you do that, a lot of times that back wheel is going to come out from under you. And I got to tell you, I had, for going 5 miles an hour, Mark, I had some pretty serious, I guess, problems. And it's just, people who ride motorcycles, I'm not going to come down on you because I love them. I love the motorcycle, but boy, you've got to be so careful. And people do not watch out for you. I had all kind of lights on my motorcycle, and I would still have people coming and moving right in front of me. So today's a special show for me, Mark. And first of all, we got, after your last show, I got 6 letters. This is really unusual. And we're going to be talking about this because there's so many topics under personal injury to discuss, but we got to discuss nursing homes, Mark. I got 6 letters on nursing home abuse.
Nursing homes.
And they wanted basically, I'm sorry.
Nursing homes are a big deal. And, of course, when your family is at a nursing home, you're trusting them to take care of your family and help them during their last dying days and keep them as comfortable as possible. And unfortunately, it worked more in theory than in practice.
Well, the last one I gave, and I gave them your phone number, they wanted to know if you're put into a nursing home and you get COVID, can you sue the nursing home?
Yeah. So, we did a podcast on nursing homes and COVID early on in the COVID pandemic. And it's a really interesting question. The answer is, it depends on whether or not the nursing home's conduct was below the standard of care. And of course, that sounds like a bunch of Weasley lawyer words, right? But one of the tricky parts about proving you got COVID is, did you get it from the nursing home or did you get it from somebody else coming in? Was it your relatives that gave it to you when they came in, or was it the relatives of your roommate that gave it to you when they came in? Now, early on in the pandemic, of course, they wouldn't let anybody in and out.
Right.
And we felt like you could probably establish causation when they completely controlled all access to everybody. Difficult case, but that's one of the cases we would have looked at if somebody had presented it to us. Now I think it's probably more difficult because there's not that controlled access. But gosh, wouldn't you be upset if you had your family member in a nursing home to take care of them and they gave them the virus that killed them?
Yeah, really. No kidding. I don't know. I think this is I was shocked that so many letters came in on the same subject. And maybe because they're loosening up the mask rules. I don't know if that's what it is. I actually had knee surgery replacement, and they stuck me in a nursing home because I needed to rehab, and it was the only place that I could rehab. And I got COVID there because there was a lot of the patients who had COVID. And I'm like, why would you put me in a nursing home when COVID is, rampant in nursing homes?
Yeah, of course, they're putting you, if you're trying to avoid COVID, what's the best thing to do, right? The best thing to do is to go out in the woods somewhere in a cabin and don't go outside the door. Don't let anybody inside the door. Keep everybody off your property and, wait it out for a couple of years, right? That would be the best way to not get COVID. But, instead they put you in a nursing home where there's a lot of what? Sick
Yes.
people. Nursing homes have sick people. So, it's just kind of asking for your patients to get it. So probably not a good idea. You would have been better off rehabbing at home.
Mark, I'm going to tell you, the other day, I was driving and we see personal injury attorneys on buses. We see them on benches. We see them everywhere. The only thing is when your picture's on a bus or a park or a bench or a billboard, it doesn't tell you much about that attorney.
No.
I mean, I think the trust factor is so important that you know that your attorney is out there busting their behind for you and that you get along with each other. Those forms of advertising don't tell you much at all, except they can afford an ad on there. What I like about having this kind of a show with you is people can get to know you, who you are, how you conduct your business. Because listen, tell you some people get rewarded for their injuries, which is a shame, but that's the way it is. So first of all, I want to tell people about your practice and yourself.
So I've been practicing for 33 years. That's about 250 years in dog years. Grew up in West Virginia, went to law school in California, practiced for a big, huge corporate firm in downtown Los Angeles for about 5 or 6 years, and decided I wanted to represent people. People are more fun. People you give a darn about. People care about you. And so I moved back home to West Virginia, decided to run for office, ran for the state legislature, got elected when I was about 31 years of age.
Wow, I'm impressed.
It was pretty neat. And spent a term in the legislature while I was starting my practice. And of course, the practice got really busy and I didn't have enough time to do both. So I chose to stick with the practice of law. Of course, now that's been, I don't know, 25 years or something like that. So, went out on my own doing personal injury. And we did a variety of personal injuries for a bunch of different years. Anything from a slip and fall to a car wreck. We also did some murder cases. Anything we could do to get into trial, right? It's really difficult to get into trial these days versus what it used to be 50 years ago. So any way I could get into trial, I would volunteer with other lawyers to help them try cases and do it for free just so I could get into trial.
Because you like to litigate.
Well, I like to try cases. Litigation is a little different than trying cases. Litigation is a little more paper pushing than trying cases.
Okay.
Trying cases, you're up on your feet in front of the jury talking to people, right? You're up in front of the jury, reaching out there and grabbing them and pulling them towards you and talking to them and getting them to connect with you and your client, right? So, we did that for a bunch of years. And then in 2010, a coal mine blew up in West Virginia called Upper Big Branch, killed 29 coal miners, injured about 25 others. And we ended up with 12 people who had been in one of the death cases and 12 people who had been injured. And we got this idea that it probably wasn't a very good idea for your brain to be standing really close to an explosion. Seems a little bit, all the discussion we have about the NFL and chronic traumatic encephalopathy, now CTE. The idea that an explosion is not good for your brain it's pretty commonplace now. Back then, people, didn't necessarily believe in it. But so we discovered what's called a 3T MRI, and the T in 3T MRI stands for Tesla, and it's a measurement of the size of the magnet. In an MRI, the bigger the magnet, the greater the resolution is, right? So the bigger the magnet, the sharper the image is. And we were able to take these 12 people, these 12 coal miners that were standing in the mine when the explosion happened, and we were able to point at very specific places on their brain that had been injured on this 3T MRI. and we were able to recover a bunch of money for them. And just about 6 months after that case was over with, a fertilizer plant in the town of West Texas blew up, killed 15 people, leveled about a third of the town. In fact, right now is the 10th anniversary coming up in a couple of days. They're having a big memorial down in the town of West Texas to mark the occasion that it's been 10 years. But anyways, we ended up with 182 clients in that case, and many of them had also suffered brain injuries from being close to an explosion. And that led to the idea on that case was that was product stewardship, and what are the duties of a chemical company to keep control of its products. And that led to a class action involving the water of Charleston, West Virginia, and then that led to a class action involving Arkema chemical plant in Houston during Hurricane Harvey, which caught fire. That led to a bunch of others. So we have a big practice involving class actions and mass torts where these huge disasters have affected schools, towns, homes, neighborhoods, and at the same time, we still stay true to our roots and do the small personal injury cases also, like motorcycle wrecks.
You've handled some big cases.
I kind of like to joke around. People say, "What kind of lawyer are you?" And I say, "Well, we do the worst disasters in the country." And people take a step back, they stumble a little bit, they kind of catch their breath, and they're like, "What does that mean?" And I said, "Well, if it has its own Wikipedia page, that's probably one of our cases." So yeah, we've done a lot of really big, interesting cases. Typically, we partner with 3 or 4 other firms that are great lawyers also to do them. But it's pretty interesting. We've got some phenomenally interesting cases. They take forever, but they're neat.
I think I see Aaron Brockovich. What's your name in the background?
Aaron Brockovich. So we have Aaron Brockovich. We've had Aaron Brockovich show up at the town hall meetings that we were conducting for some of our cases. We have a legal assistant, Natalie Hall. You'll probably meet her. I think you've seen her on some emails.
Yes.
Natalie Hall. It's interesting. She admired, looked up to, modeled herself on Aaron Brockovich, and now she is her own Aaron Brockovich at this point. So
wow,
she does.
Well, I know we wanted to talk about motorcycles today, but I keep thinking, God, what happened in Ohio with the train derailment? And boy, I tell you what, there's some strange things going on there. They're telling people that everything's okay, and meantime, people are getting sick.
Sure. And that was a case we almost got involved in. We have a case right now involving Zons Middle School, which is also in the middle part of the southern part of Ohio, and it's located next to a gaseous diffusion uranium enrichment plant. And it turns out that the middle school it has radionuclides in it, which means radioactive particles, presumably from the nearby gaseous diffusion enrichment plant. The school's now shut down. The kids have to attend elsewhere, and so we're really familiar with that part of Ohio. And of course, forever they've been saying, there's nothing to see here. Keep moving, right? But a lot of times the initial information coming out of a major disaster is not accurate. Sometimes it's not accurate because people just don't have accurate information. A lot of times it's not accurate because the potential defendants are trying to shape the narrative and get people talking about things that direct the liability away from them. So it's not unusual for 3 or 4 or 5 different stories to be coming out of that train wreck in Ohio.
Hey, so if you're ever thinking about you need a personal injury attorney, think about what Mark does. He goes after these big and he doesn't go, I'm sure they come to him. These big cases that you have to bring in specialists, and you haven't made one dime yet.
For 5 or 6 or 7 years, we might not make a dime.
Exactly.
Yeah, I never thought, back when I was 22 or 23, 24 years old, starting being in law school, I never thought I would say I might go for 4 years without a paycheck.
I know.
But we have.
But that's pretty gutsy, though, Mark. I mean, you have to have a lot of confidence in yourself. And listen, there used to be a lot of different areas of law would do things on a contingency basis. But because there is no such thing as 100% anymore, a lot of areas of law had to stop doing that. But that's basically how you work on a contingency basis, whether it's a motorcycle accident, a boating accident, and you don't get paid until your client gets paid.
We don't get paid unless our client wins.
Yeah, wins.
Yeah, and if you don't win, you don't get paid. So
even though you spent all that money, Mark,
you're preaching to the choir, Steve.
I know. But I really respect. You're just not an auto accident. I mean, you do auto accident, you slip and falls, but there's so many different areas, wrongful death, work-related injuries. But what you do is so amazing that God forbid, if one of my family members ever got in an auto accident or any kind of injury, man, I am saying you got to hire Mark Underwood. That's how much confidence I have in you. And please, I don't want this to sound like a commercial. What we do here is we educate you, and then it's up to you to decide who you want to hire. I went a little long today with, because I want people to know who you are. First of all, I have 4 people who want to know, what is your phone number?
So, hey, the easiest phone number to remember for me is just toll-free number 844-UNDERWOOD. So you can call 844-UNDERWOOD. It'll ring right here in my Texas office and my West Virginia office simultaneously. So just call 844-UNDERWOOD.
Well, I got to tell you, I was waiting to tell Mark this. We have, because Mark also, you have a satellite office in Virginia?
In West Virginia, Huntington, West Virginia. And that was originally the first office. Then during the West Texas fertilizer plant explosion cases, we opened the Dallas, Texas, McKinney, Texas office. So, and things have transitioned down here, but we still have an office in Huntington, West Virginia.
Well, we did some research, and together, us and iHeart and Apple, people can find your show in West Virginia. It's modulating there now. And I wanted to kind of surprise you in the show so I could see your expression. But people in West Virginia can actually watch or hear the show today. We're going to start doing that for your show. What is your website, Mark?
Our website is underwoodlawoffice.com. But, you can probably just type in Mark Underwood or Underwood Law and probably find us. Underwoodlawoffice.com is the website, though.
Now, your office is in McKinney.
Correct.
Which I will never forget that because my son has a store there in McKinney. But, if you're in Fort Worth, you can zoom in, can't they, Mark?
Absolutely. During COVID, the law practice really changed during COVID, and we do a tremendous amount of stuff by Zoom or Microsoft Teams nowadays. And, if you're in Fort Worth or if you're in Alaska and you have a case you want to talk to us about, we can set up a Zoom meeting, talk to you. We can send you the documents by DocuSign. You can sign off on them by DocuSign. We have some forms that you can fill out that go right into our case management program. And, to a large extent, you still have to be admitted to practice in whatever state the event occurred in or wherever you're going to be filing suit. But, a lot of times you can get admitted what's called for a limited purpose, pro hoc vice, which is Latin for a limited purpose, and handle the case with a local attorney in most places. But yeah, I mean, we're happy to talk to you. If you got a case, you want to talk to us, call us at 844 Underwood. Go on our website, fill out the form. We'll check it out.
Listen to this. We just got a text. Love your show today. Tell Mark thanks. Got to stop having your relatives call here, Mark, during the show. Like, do you handle cases for property damage claims?
We do handle property damage claims cases. Several of our class actions are about property damage related to disasters. The Piketon, Ohio case related to the gaseous diffusion uranium enrichment plant, that is a property damage case. The Arkema chemical class action down in Houston during Hurricane Harvey, that is a property damage case. We don't do that many individual property damage cases. We're willing to look at them, but we do property damage cases in mass disasters for sure.
Well, it was a good question, and I know why it was probably asked. It's almost hurricane time.
Sure.
And we have a show in Houston that property damage claims are very big in the Houston area. So
that's actually, somebody might call it a property damage case, but it's actually an insurance claim case because you had property damage. You're trying to make a claim on your insurance policy. Your insurance policy is insurance company's dragging its feet. It's nickel and diming you. It's not wanting to pay the full value of the claim. Well, you might have a claim under the Deceptive Trade Practices Act, which is essentially kind of a bad faith claim in Texas. And yes, sure, we do those all the time. We had a lot of those in the West Texas fertilizer plant explosion. There's 182 clients, probably 70 different houses, and without fail, there was always a dispute about the value of the damage to the house and the contents.
Well, listen, I just had another person ask for phone number. Give everybody your phone number again, Mark.
Phone number again, 844 Underwood. That's toll free, 844 Underwood.
Okay, guys, you're going to have to stop the texts when we go off the air in 4 minutes. You're going to have to do it at the beginning of the show. All of a sudden, we're getting all these text messages. We will get back to you. I promise you. Hey, you know what? If you stay on right now, by next Wednesday, you'll be the first person on if you call in. Anyway, that's great. That's crazy. Mark, I wanted to really talk about motorcycle accidents today, and I've got so many questions, but I don't know. Sometimes you feel like, hey, I want people to really get to know our expert, and I felt like today was the day we were going to do it. So Mark's with us every month. When Mark comes back, and we will be promoting it like we always do, we're going to talk about motorcycles because, boy, I tell you what, motorcycle injuries, Mark, are different than auto accident injuries.
They're usually
like me, a little bitty, almost like falling off my bike, but I had all these injuries.
Yeah, motorcycle injuries are much, much, much more likely to be catastrophic, life-changing. You're never going to be the same from them.
Yeah, I was shocked, and I know I just forgot his name. He was head of the Republican Party for Texas several years ago, and he was on I-35, and he had an accident. The first thing I thought of, he's gone. There's no way he is going to survive that, but he did. I can't think of his name right now, but Motorcycle accidents are really bad. And you know what? If you come out and you think you're unscathed, I think you better be checked out anyway, because Mark, I'm sure you see injuries pop up a week later, 2 weeks later.
Especially brain injuries. You go to and brain injuries a lot of times are missed in the emergency room. So, you go to the emergency room, they take care of your scrapes and your fractured bone. You get home that night, you start vomiting, you can't sleep, you become very emotional, very depressed. You continue that way for weeks and months on end. Turns out you have a brain injury. Nobody's even told you.
Well, we're going to be here to educate you. Mark, I can't thank you enough. I love doing this show with you. And again, Mark will be back again next month on the Ask the Expert show. We'll be with you again next week with more Ask the Experts. And I'm glad everybody's enjoying the TV version now and the podcast version of Ask the Experts. Thanks a lot, Mark, and we'll see everybody next week.
Steve, thanks for having me on. It's always, you're just a joy to talk to. I love your smiling face all the time. It's just great.
Checks in the mail. Checks in the mail.
Sure enough.
Mark Underwood, attorney Mark Underwood, personal injury attorney. He'll be back with us again next month.
Thanks, Steve.
We'll see you all next week.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.